Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a pure 12 class build for the Circle of Stars Druid in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a really strong new subclass that was added in patch 8, and it has the different starry forms here which can enhance our spell casting and healing. And I'll be going over the best gear as well as a combat guide here. Now, I would recommend Shillelagh early game. This is actually really good damage because you can apply this to a torch and the torch gets an extra 1d4 of damage. Thorn Whip's nice to pull enemies towards you, although if you don't have someone on the team with guidance, you can grab it as a druid. Now, for our ability score spread, I like to go a little bit higher in our dexterity, so a 16, 14 constitution, and 16 wisdom works pretty well. However, you can swap the dex and constitution around, but we do want to have at least 16 wisdom. Level 2 lets us take the Circle of Stars, which gives us our starry form Archer, Chalice, and Dragon, which each has its own unique abilities. The Dragon's probably the most powerful of this because you get a Dazzling Breath, which hits in a cone as a bonus action, dealing radiant damage, which is actually really strong. And whenever you make a saving throw to hold concentration, the lowest you can roll is a 10. So this helps out with holding our concentration much better. We also got ourselves the Chalice form. Whenever we do a healing spell, we can do an extra healing spell. This isn't really the best, but it's nice if you need to fill the role of a healer. And you can also utilize this by swapping your starry form a little bit later on. We also got the Luminous form here, which has a Luminous Arrow, which is a pretty decent option if you don't want to use the Dazzling Breath because it has longer range. And we also get Guiding Bolts and a Star Map charge, which allows us to cast this for free, which is just great. It allows your team to land their shots a little bit more freely, giving them the advantage on their attack roll. For our first spell, I would recommend having Creator Destroy Water and Thunder Wave for the pushback, Healing Word as it gives us a bonus action heal, Ice Knife, and you can either go with an Entangle, Fog Cloud, or Fairy Fire for your final spell. If you have no one else in the team, Long Strider works well too, but I like to go with this spell as such, and you can always prepare your spells and swap them out as you please. Now once we get to level 3 here, we get to take some higher level spells, and I'd recommend grabbing Pass Without Trace is really nice, but we want to have Hold Person and Spike Growth. Spike Growth being a really good crowd control for the ground. Later on at level 7, we get our Woodland Being, which can hold the concentration for us. Deep Rothe form is great. Another cantrip, also great resistance, or even produce flame because you can get a little light off of that for Act 2. And then for our next level spell, Moonbeam can be pretty useful. I also like to have Pass Without Trace because you can buff up your team. A plus 10 to stealth checks on your rogue is crazy good. Or if you have a bard or whoever your stealthy character is. Now I'd recommend going with an ability score improvement or the alert feed. I also think alert at the start of the game is best because this means that your druid goes first pretty much every single time in combat. Once we get to level 5, we get ourselves Wild Strikes. We get an extra unarmed attack, or an extra Wild Shape attack. Call Lightning, Plant Growth, Sleet Storm. Mr. Spells and all. We're not going to be using Mr. Spells, but I think Plant Growth or Call Lightning are good choices. Plant Growth gives us a concentration-free crowd control because it quarters movement speed of the enemies, and it doesn't require us to hold our concentration. Level 6 gives us the Owlbear form, which is nice if we need the extra health. We also get our Cosmic Omens, which is a big component of this subclass. So we consult the stars for a Cosmic Omen of Weal or Woe. So this allows you to increase or decrease attack rolls, saving throws, and increase your allies' ability checks. So basically this is used as a reaction so that you can basically keep your team alive. It comes in handy a variety of different situations. It's a great option to have. And it's a core principle of this subclass, so it's really useful. Now, as mentioned, level 7 is a big power spike for the druid because we get so many great spells. So we get our Woodland Being, we get the Minor Elemental, we get Ice Storm, we also get Wall of Fire, the Grasping Vine, Confusion. Like, this is such a great level for the druid, but we want the Woodland Being first and foremost because it can be able to, basically you can create a wood woad with this and also have it hold your concentration on Spike Growth. This lets us take this off if we don't want to use this, and then take something like Wall of Fire or Blight. Wall of Fire requiring a concentration, but it's a crowd control option. And you can have an Ice Storm too for crowd control without having us, because it creates a nice surface so you don't have to hold a concentration on that. I also like to have Grasping Vine. This has changed since its release. It's now a bonus action. It lasts for 10 turns. It creates difficult terrain. It can grab enemies towards it. It's actually really good and situationally pretty effective. I would recommend at this point to take a Wisdom increase, but you can also go with the Warcaster. Basically, if you take Warcaster, you'll never drop your concentrations. Level 9. This gives us access to some more great spells like Insect Plague and Conjure Elemental. The Water Elemental is great because then it can apply Chilled on the enemy, and whenever there's an enemy that's chilled, they'll take double cold damage. Level 10 gives us our Twinkling Constellation, so our starry forms are improved. Now they do a 1d8 of extra damage or healing, and the dragon can fly at a speed of 6 meters, and you can swap freely between them. We also get the Dilophosaurus form, which is just great. We'll take resistance there for a cantrip. I guess Mass Cure Wounds is a good choice as well for healing spells. And then once we get to level 11, this gives us our... not sure why that's there, ignore that. But we get access to some higher level spells here. So Wall of Thorns is actually pretty effective. I like to have Hero's Feast, and you can use a free casting staff like the one on my character right now to buff your entire team up with the extra health, and this doesn't even end up eating up your ability there. And what's also great is you can then go ahead with saving your spell slots for some of the more powerful spells, but this is great. Hero's Feast is such a useful spell, just buffs the entire team up. And then for our final level, Conjure Fey from the Mr. Spells is great, but we're going to do that on this build. Heal or Sunbeam. Sunbeam is probably the best damage option for us, but Heal is good too. And Sunbeam actually fits because we have a lot of radiant damage, which is great. Now for our final feat, I'd recommend going with the Wisdom Increase, although if you want some more survivability, Tough can be a decent choice, but I think that going with higher Wisdom just works better. So the beautiful thing is the Druid gets medium armor proficiency, which means the Luminous armor in Act 1 is one of the best armors because whenever we use this and deal radiant damage, it creates a radiant shockwave, which we have lots of radiant damage between Guiding Bolt, Sunbeam, and even our, we have a lot of abilities in our bonus action. Starry forms can apply this as well, and Dazzling Breath. Not as great as Spirit Guardian, so if you have a Cleric, they're probably better off utilizing this, but I think this works. Druids kind of work in replacement of a Cleric. And this also stacks with the Luminous Gloves, and even further stacks with the Coruscation Ring, which applies radiating orbs when we're lit by a light surface. And what's even crazier is the Chalice Glow Ring. Whenever there's an illuminated target, it deals additional 2 damage. And this is radiant damage, so it further stacks radiating orbs. And since we're stacking radiating orbs, we can use the Boots of Stormy Clamor to stack Reverberation. And then also the Cloak Protection and the Holy Lance Helm. If a target misses an attack against us, they'll take radiant damage, further stacking radiating orbs. So we're pretty defensive. You can swap on the Cloak of Displacement to give disadvantage on attack rolls against you as well to further stack that with the Holy Lance Helm. I also have the Amulet of Greater Health to give ourselves a boost to health and concentration, and the Hellrider Longbow for the +3. Now also Viconia's Walking Forge. This is going to be the best gear, obviously, but early game you can use like the Adamantine armor here or Luminous armor once you get it. And the for the staff, the Morning Frost is actually really good early game. It gives you a cold damage option. But the Staff of Spell Power we're going to use right now because it's the Arcane Battery. So what this does is it lets us summon in one of these spells for free. So we can go ahead with summoning in a Myrmidon. Although I prefer a Water Elemental, this ends up being able to set up our water or our lightning or our cold damage because it's got the ability to apply chill on its punching attack. So once we did this, I would actually recommend taking this off and then taking Marka Heshker because this can stack lightning charges for us, which will further stack up our damage. It's actually pretty crazy. And then we also get another free cast, and we get a Chain Lightning. The free cast is nice because this lets us cast like something like Hero's Feast here for free, and I'd recommend doing that before you get into combat. So boom, you can buff everybody up. This gives everyone more health, and it works on your summons as well. I should have done the Woodland Being first because they are pretty squishy. With only 22 health, it would have got literally double the health. I kind of forgot to do that, but it also has its summon, and it'll hold the Spike Growth concentration for you. And then even crazy if you got your Cleric with Aid. Both together, you can get your Dryad up to 60 health and the Woodward up to 79 and our Water Element of 151. So that's actually a lot of extra health. And then we'll go into our Dragon form here because this gives us our Dazzling Breath, which has a large radius, but that's going to stack a ton of Radiating Orbs on the enemies. And we look really cool. And for our first turn in combat, now we have a lot of enemies around us. And it's probably actually best for us to drop a Sunbeam here because we can hit so many enemies with a Sunbeam. And then we can keep casting this around. Sometimes with Sunbeam, you can get lucky and actually hit a lot of targets with it. I'm not seeing that same luck here. We can get we can get about 4 targets here. Unfortunately, hitting the Woodland Beat. Or no, we can actually line up there. So I'll do Sunbeam. That stacks Radiating Orbs. 4 stacks on the enemy, 4 stacks there. And this one's blinded 4 stacks. This is great because this allows us to actually do a good amount of damage on the enemy and stack our Radiating Orbs up. And I'll use a Dazzling Breath right now because it's 3 targets that'll get hit with the Radiant damage. And somehow it hit them with 6 stacks of Radiating Orbs. I'm not sure what happened there, but we'll take it. And we have 6 stacks of Radiating Orb, 2 on this enemy for whatever reason. I don't know why that one got hit with 6. But that's the beautiful thing about this build is it dishes out so many levels of Radiating Orbs. And then I guess for the final, since I have haste on this character, I will go with an Ice Storm. With Ice Storm, you can set up difficult terrain and also drop Radiating Orbs on the enemies too. I unfortunately hit my Woodwode. That's kind of, it was in the way. 10 stacks Radiating Orbs, 4 stacks, 10 stacks, and this enemy still has only 2 stacks here. But that is pretty good for a single turn. Yeah, we now have our crowd control set up too. And the nice thing is the ice will make the enemies slip and fall and ends up ruining their turns. It's great. We also have our Woodland Being here. Now, it can't stack double surfaces. It can only do one over another. So I'm actually going to put this at the very back line, which will force them to move forward. But yeah, you got the spike ice there. It overrides the terrain, unfortunately. Unlike darkness, which doesn't override ice. That's stacked reverberation, 10 stacked radiating orbs. Oh, we got hit with a critical hit. You can't prevent that. We can take them out with our shield bash, though. Now we get our water elemental. The beautiful thing about a water elemental is that slam attack will set up cold damage. So if you have someone with cone of cold, if it hits its shots, it'll double the cone of cold to a potential 128 damage. And for our wood woad, he can slip on ice. You got to watch out for that. But they can also drop down entangle, which is really nice. So you can group up and grab enemies in place. Another just really useful ability. Crowd control is the druid's best friend. Oh, that was very unfortunate. I got hit with command. Alright, I need payback. Someone gave me that command spell, and I don't like it that much. So, the caster is back there. I have an 85% hit chance on them. I don't want to walk through the ice, so I'm just going to make sure that I'm not... Yeah, I will be walking on the ice. So I'm going to attack this one here, 90% hit chance. It'll chain. It didn't chain to the target I wanted it to, but we dealt additional radiant damage, so we would have applied additional radiating orbs. Kind of funny. I guess I'll just do a lightning bolt, because this will guarantee hit them, but it's going to hit those two enemies there. That's fine. Oh, I'm going to hit Minsk too. Stacks 8 stacks of radiating orbs. That's huge. And 2 stacks of reverberation. Not too bad for a single attack action. And then for my bonus action, I can just do a dazzling breath right here, which is fine. I guess I hit Minsk for some pretty high damage there. It's unfortunate, but they have 10 stacks of radiating orbs, so they're not likely to do much with that. And I keep getting hit with critical hits, which is unfortunate, but that's weird. The ice surface also disappeared there. Spike growth is nice, but you sometimes will have to keep reapplying it here. We have 4 targets in that area there, so we can pop that down. That's going to deal, again, damage to them, which is perfect. So, yeah. And then our water element will hopefully land this shot. Nope, miss. And I can't do anything to this, so I'm just going to use the Sonic Backlash, which is enough to take them out. Oh my god, the radiant damage was perfect. And that further stacks up and deals a ton of damage. So, that was actually really effective. They're in a spike growth. They just got hit with a... they missed me. They took the Holy Lance Helm damage. And then it stacked up extra thunder damage on that. Oh, that was from reverberation. So they actually got hit with reverberation from the Holy Lance Helm, which is enough to take them out. That's actually kind of crazy. Good luck. You don't always have that happen. And we'll try the 3-peat of misses here. Let's see. Oh, it actually hit for once. Good. Our Woodwoad actually has some pretty decent damage too. The Twisting Branch can actually hit for a surprising amount of damage despite not having a very high hit chance. That's 5 plus 7 damage. It's not bad. 12 is good. Another command, unfortunately. We took him out with the Sonic Backlash. So, yeah, what's great about this is you stack up so many radiating orbs per turn. This special breath is great. You also have your Cosmic Omens of Weal of Woe. I didn't even end up having to use those, but the Circle of Star Druid is extremely powerful in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you all in the next video.